Now we're going to have the story about a meal after Jesus' resurrection. It's from the Gospel reading of Luke, chapter 24, verses 13 to 35. On Easter Sunday morning, Jesus arose from the dead. He was alive again. In the afternoon, Jesus' friends, too, were walking home on their way to a town named Emmaus from Jerusalem. So the two friends were walking along. They were feeling really sad and disappointed. They were talking about all the things that had happened. Jesus came up to them and was walking with them. Understand, the friends didn't recognize Jesus. Jesus asked them, "What are you talking about?" The friends said, they were shocked. They said, "You don't know what happened in Jerusalem a few days ago? What happened?" They said, "A man named Jesus from Nazareth. He was a prophet. Really had powerful words, his powerful actions before God and before all people. Our high priest ordered that Jesus be crucified. Jesus died. We were so sad, so disappointed. We had hoped that he would save Israel. Now 3 days, women told us a strange story. This morning, the women went to the tomb. Jesus' body was not there. It was gone. They said they saw an angel, and the angel said, Jesus is alive. Jesus said, "You're so slow to believe all the things the prophets said that they wrote down. You don't believe that yet. You know the Messiah must suffer all these things before he reaches his glory." Jesus began telling this story from the Bible, explaining all the things that happened, beginning with Moses and all the way through, anything connected to Jesus. So the three of them were walking along, and they arrived in the town, and it was sundown. So the two invited Jesus into the house to eat with them, and Jesus accepted. So the three went in, sat down at a table, and ate. Jesus picked up bread, raised it to heaven, broke the bread, and gave it to his friends. And they looked at each other, and they looked at Jesus. Jesus disappeared. The friends said, "We were feeling, our hearts were burning as we were walking along, listening to his story from the Bible." And the other one said, "Yes, that's right. The Lord is alive." So they jumped up and they ran back to Jerusalem. Two of them told the story, all that they had experienced as they were walking along the road, and how they recognized Jesus in the breaking of the bread. Jesus is alive. The story finished. Wow. On Easter Sunday afternoon, Jesus did the same action that he did on Thursday at the Last Supper. Jesus took bread, raised it to heaven, broke it, and gave it to his friends. Said, "Eat, I give you myself." The two friends recognized Jesus. Jesus was eating with them, was close to them, eating with them intimately. Jesus is gloriously alive, wonderful. Jesus gave them communion, the same as today. Jesus gives us communion. We eat with Jesus. Jesus is alive, not dead. He's alive. We are intimately close connected with Jesus in communion. The same as the two men in the story. Same Jesus. Wow. Jesus is very much alive. In communion, we believe Jesus. Jesus is living and loving. Wow. Today at Eucharist, we eat with Jesus. Jesus is live, alive. The same Jesus who was eating with his friends. He ate with Jesus. Jesus is living. Jesus is alive again with us. We are intimately connected with Jesus. Things to think about. Two of them. First, the two friends in this story met Jesus on the road. They didn't recognize Jesus. I wonder why. Why didn't they recognize Jesus? And second, they arrived at the house. They finally recognized Jesus there. How? How did they recognize Jesus? This is the end of part 9.